Join us every week for coaching and Q&A. You'll learn how to get more listings signed and sold following the simple and fun easy listing method. Plus, find hidden gem tips and get motivated as you surround yourself with like-minded peers in this weekly mastermind.
Hey, how did it go this weekend?
I'm not sure yet. I know we had less buying groups through than we did the first weekend. These buying groups ended up asking more questions and wanting more information.
Good.
I still don't have anything on the platform. And, I'm asking a lot of feedback questions from agents. And, because again, I've talked with Robert about it and it's priced right. But, people are saying, well, it's not updated and there's, fascia boards outside that need painting and there's a pet odor in it and yada, yada, yada. And, you know, the kitchen's updated. The bathrooms are partially updated. The flooring's updated. I don't get why I don't even have one single offer. It just makes no sense to me.
So that was the feedback from the buyers that came through on the open house, is that it needs A, B, C, D, E, F, G, right?
Right. The buyer's agents, because we polled them all and said, hey, you thinking about an offer? I've got 3 of them that are still considering it, they're saying, but we'll see. I had one buyer's agent tell me that they just didn't understand how the platform worked. It was very confusing to their buyers, the way that the agent explained it to them. I said, well, help me by letting me explain it to them because I've done it a lot more times than you have. And
Well, even I would with that, I've had agents that have been like, can I not just submit a regular offer? I'm like, yeah, you can submit it and then we can put it on the platform. I mean, go ahead, send me a purchase and sale. That's kind of the same thing, but and then I can help you actually take that and transfer it to the platform.
right, yeah, maybe so.
Or even like I said, I've also gone to the place where I talking to the agent, be like, hey, well, ask your buyers at what price would they consider making an offer. If we were to counter and send you a counter today, what is there a price that your buyers would accept? They'd be like, yeah, we would definitely do it for that.
The problem that I've got with that, though, is that, I've received 6 offers, straight written offers. They're all from investors and they're all way below the 350, and the house should be selling for at least 407, 410. So, they're looking for a garage sale. And my seller is a real estate agent with another brokerage. So, he's just not selling his own house and thinks that the concept of the easy real estate platform is fabulous. In fact, he's asked to sign up to become one of the family here. But, this is a golf course lot. It's not in a 55 plus community. Anybody can live there. It's a great neighborhood. It's clean. It's the largest lot in the subdivision, and it's one of the only 4 bedrooms in the subdivision. So it's got a lot of bonuses for it, but it's just, it's not taking. So
Right.
I don't
But
know.
so do you think, so here's like, what's alternative if we're an agent, right? When we're working with sellers, we, they would say, okay, well, we would then put it on the market traditionally, right? But if it's not selling easy way, why would it sell traditionally? You know what I mean?
Yeah. So, he had it on the market for sale by owner at 426. And, he's got a number in mind that's, that 410 would work because he wants to move to Texas and he needs the money, to pay off his deal and all that. So my question is Adam here, or maybe Greg would be able to answer this. Do we do sub twos?
Heck yeah.
Yes.
All day.
Okay. So this property would work well with a sub two, except that he just refinanced it and got the interest rate up to 7%. But the balance on it only makes it a like $1,600 a month payment. And the rent on those in that area are going for about 2,100. So is that enough or is that too skinny to do? What do you think, Greg?
I don't know. I mean, I'm not the sub two end buyer expert. I mean, it sounds skinny to me, but I don't know. I would have to ask a couple guys and say, "Hey, is this skinny?" And they'll say.
Yeah. Yeah, because I found out that, he refinanced it 5 months ago to get a lower balance. He was able to get the balance of his loan down because he refinanced, and it was at 3, that would have been easy.
Mm.
But things happen.
So it's not that he wouldn't consider another, he just physically needs to have a certain dollar amount. Otherwise, he would have to come out of pocket to close. Is that right?
No, not completely. His goal is to have the money to pay cash out in Texas. And, again, he's got access to the MLS so he can do the comps.
I completely understand where you're coming from because I actually have sellers too. I'm going through the same situation in that they just won't let go of what they think the market is doing. And unfortunately, this is not where the market is. Like we've listed it. I tried to get her to do the easy and I did stipulate with her. I said, we're not going to do the easy platform unless we're at this price. And she's like, well, I just can't sell it at that price. I'm like, well, then we're not going to do the easy. It's just not going to work. And so she's like, okay, well, let's just list it traditionally. And then she wanted to start at a price. And I was like, I refuse to, you'll have to get someone else. I will not list it at that price. So then she came down 10 grand on it. And I told her, even then, I'm like, we're too high, but I will list it there. And it's the same situation now. She's like, I want to get $20,000 or $30,000 out of it. Well, I want you to too. But the reality of the market is it's just not. So we're sitting on the market. We've been on the market for 60 days now. We've had 3 showings. That's it. And it is a beautiful house. She only bought it a couple years ago, but it's just not selling. I mean, I keep telling her, hey, we're going to end up going down, going down. And at some point, the reality of the situation is you're going to have to make a difficult choice. She doesn't want to have to make that difficult choice, but that's just the reality. So it's the same thing because the rent in the area, her mortgage is like $3,200 a month, and the highest rent in probably 10 miles is like 2,500.
Yeah.
So she's like, well, I thought about renting it. I'm like, okay, I'll even help you with that. We'll see but this is what those 3-bedroom, 2 baths are going for. That you're not going to get anything. So I mean, I get it. She's between a rock and a hard place. It sucks for us, I think, because we want to help our clients. We want to make that happen for them. But the fact of the matter, I mean, we can't. I mean, wish we could wave a magic wand, right? We all do, like, and make it happen. But that's just not the reality of the situation. The platform helps and works in that it speaks what the market is saying. We just don't always want to listen for it. And it's hard.
So I'm going on 14 days on this now. So I've had 2 open houses. We're coming up to a holiday weekend, which is a horrible time to have an open house, in my opinion, because everybody's not at home. They're gone. They're on vacation. Does anybody disagree with that?
Anecdotally, I would say maybe a market where people are traveling into town and they're staying for a couple of days and they want to look at some properties. What I've heard from other agents, some people seem to thrive in those holiday weekends, but they're in markets where that might work. Like Florida, for example, everybody's going to be outside because fireworks are like a 2-week thing in Florida. Really year round. So, it's free advertising if you're going to be doing an open house to have people driving by to go barbecue and also see that a house is for sale. So I think in certain areas it works for that reason. The flip side of that is if you're in the areas where everybody's leaving for the weekend, they're not going to be present to come out to your open house if they wanted to. If you're not sure, it's probably best to just do it the weekend after.
Yeah. Because I'm thinking, it's 117 here today, but it's going down to less than 110, which is nice for us Arizonans because we can actually deal with that. Yeah, 117 is just way too toasty. So people would not be afraid to come out on a 110 day where it would work. I'm just thinking this weekend's a bust and I've got to figure out how to do something else. And, it's difficult also with them because they've got pets and some of the pets are not human friendly. So we've got to be careful about that. And then their son works outside all day long and comes home and just does his thing.
So are they in a situation where they need to sell in order to purchase?
Mm-hmm.
So
Yes,
it would be a home sale contingency for them to do that. Or they have.
right. Well, they are wanting to pay cash out in Texas. They've already got family out there that they're moving to the same small town. I have no idea where it is. But they said that they've got some places lined up out there that, they can bring their $100,000 and be comfortable. So,
They might have to just alter according to what reality is telling them. So seeing and that's where I try and walk through scenarios with them and be like, okay, let's walk through a couple of scenarios. What's absolute worst case scenario? Where's the absolute bottom dollar that you would take that could be feasible to move? And then just, walking through those, like, okay, would it be possible for you to move now and just rent somewhere for a period of 6 months so you can kind of get a feel for where you want to be? And then that allows us to be able to market the home a little bit better, right? If it's vacant and we can get in and deep clean it, we won't have the pet smell, we won't have all those interactions and interferences.
right,
And then we might get a little bit better for the house at that period of time if we can do that.
right.
Again, just trying to walk through those scenarios with them and be like, is that a possibility? No, yes, no, maybe, you know what I mean?
And that's why I brought up the sub two,
Yeah.
because the balance on the house is less than half of what the value is. The actual note is not that large. It's large enough to maybe make sense to, somebody to come in, but they would get, fairly close to the number that they're looking for and be done, with the sub two situation. I don't think there's enough to do a novation.
So it's interesting that they would be
Yeah.
willing to accept a sub two, but not be willing to lower to the price to like where someone would make an offer.
Well, the sub two, they're going to get most of their equity out of it. So,
Yeah, but they remain on the mortgage. So I think
right,
that,
they do. As long as there's a due on sale clause or something like that, they don't have a problem with that. Again, him being an agent, he understands how it works and it doesn't scare him, especially if there's a seasoned investor on the other side. They know what they're doing too. So that would be probably the quickest way for this deal to get through is to have somebody come in with that sub two. I've got somebody here in Phoenix that does that, but I figured I'd rather bring it to the family first.
yeah, I'm asked because I'm in a similar situation with that same seller, and that I've suggested that to her too, is doing a sub two because she doesn't have the equity. That's her biggest problem, is she does not like where I would have started the platform. If we were going to use the easy platform, I would have started it at like 450. The house right now, we had it on market for 429. And that's why I told her, I'm not going to list it. I'm not going to do the easy platform unless we're willing to do 450 or under. And she's like, I owe 480, so I can't do that. She just doesn't have that wiggle room as far as equity is concerned. But
Right.
I mean,
But
honestly, I hate this for her. I hate it for me. I hate it for everyone involved. But the fact of the matter is, there are homes in her neighborhood that sold for 485 that were just as nice, just as big. So I'm like, that's the reality of the market right now in that area. It's just gone down. And nobody likes to hear that, but unfortunately, that's just where it is, And I don't know how long, maybe they've had this house for a while, so they have a lot more equity and a lot more to work with. But
yeah, they've been there 12 years, so they
let me touch on your deal, Michael, and I don't know your deal, obviously, or I don't know the specifics, but
Sure.
I could be guessing wrong as well. But I'm pretty familiar with sub two and kind of the deal structure. If the house is worth 500K, but they owe 250, so they have 250 in equity, there's pretty much like zero subject to people on earth that would buy that with 250K down. That's not how the sub two community rolls. What they want to do is they want to get awesome paper, awesome payments, whether it's on interest rate or small balance, on a big house, whatever. But just where they can do some arbitrage, some cash in, cash out, make some delta. But they're super stingy. And I say that like in a good way. They're trying to protect every single dollar that goes into it. I think Pace's community calls it the buy-in, or he's got a phrase for it, which is like
buy-in.
Yeah, okay, which is like everything. The down payment, and if there's arrears, and if the seller needs cash for keys, and all of that is the buy-in. And they're trying to make that as close to zero as possible all the time. So just know that that's just kind of how that is put together. Now, how much money will people put up in sub two? I have no idea. I do. It's 0 to like 10% is where the sweet spot is. 20, 30, 40, 50%, you just kind of the sub two guys go away. Because their cash can do better stuff.
For these buyers that, even if they didn't buy the home a few years ago, do you think there's a good chance they were looking at their home value, especially a real estate agent looking at their own home value 2-3 years ago? So they got anchored at what they remember being the maximum Zestimate. And you're sitting in limbo here, and nobody can predict what's going to happen in the future. So that conversation has to be, do you have the time to wait? Do you want to wait? Do you want to sell because you have another motivation for selling? It really all comes down to motivation. Find out how quickly do they want to make their move to Texas? Why do they want to make that move? Is it actually a sale contingency? They need to sell to be able to buy their next home? Or would it just be uncomfortable if they had to make that stretch without getting more money in their pocket from the sale? Because those are two different things.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to wait, what does that look like? And Michael, in all seriousness, your average days on market over there, what, like in mid-50s?
Yeah.
So, I mean, you're not even halfway there. You're approaching halfway there, and the holiday will probably take you past that. But you still have several weeks before you'd even be at the average mark. So if they have time to wait, I would suggest that. Like, we've gotten some offers. When we get another offer, I'll call those people back up. We'll just keep turning it around and see what happens after the holiday weekend. I think everybody in every market is going to have are we trying to catch a falling knife problem? Are we married to the price when the market was like soaring upwards? And the only way, rather than trying to educate your seller on that, don't even try to educate them. Just ask them, do you want to wait and see what happens? Are you motivated for selling? If you want to try to sell now, what's your reason for wanting to sell now? And take control back over that guidance.
Okay.
Are any of the cash offers somewhat close to, what is the current starting bid price?
350.
And you said you have cash offers that are at 350?
No.
Oh. Are there anywhere close?
340 is the highest I got with no buyer's premium. So that puts it actually down to about 310.
What's the buyer's premium on it?
7.
The full 7%. Okay. And they're saying they have to net for what? 410. They want.
410.
Okay.
Well, he wants 425. He'll take 410.
And where did he get that price from? So when you're looking at the comps, what has sold in the area? So is it similar in condition of the house? Is it similar in being able to show the house? Was it vacant? All of those things. Have you thrown all that into consideration?
Okay. The houses that are within 100 square foot up and down are selling right in the 4 to 425 range. That's what they've sold within the last 6 months.
Okay.
Similar condition, except they're 2 bedrooms or 3 bedrooms, and their lot size is probably 20 to 25% less. And only half of those are actually on the golf course. The rest of them are off the golf course.
Okay, but Michael, while your lot is bigger, has more rooms, it has the pet odor you mentioned.
Mm-hmm.
It has the bright colors. Have your sellers been able to do anything, or are you been doing anything for open houses to help combat the smells? I was able to get it clean, get the Febreze wall inserts, and then go get those taken out. So it was just clean. And I had some fresh flowers there for the open house. So it was just more of a fresh smell.
Well, we've done the peanut butter cookie thing and
Okay.
candles.
I have a question. Have you spoken to agents in the area that have had nearby sales? Because I'm a little bit curious knowing that it's on a golf course. Are the buyers just your conventional buyer? Are they someone trying to do Airbnb? Or what's the dynamic?
That's a good idea.
Just to find out what the buyers were looking for when they bought that property, or just other information there. Get some feedback on beyond the stats that you can see online.
That's a good question because I did the same thing with the house that I'm selling up, and now this property's up in Clarksville, it's like an hour away from Nashville, so that's one of the issues. But every week I go through what has recently sold or gone under contract in the market. So there was a home that just recently went under contract that I found. I called the agent and I was like, "Hey, congratulations! You know, it looks like the house you had just went under contract. I have a listing just 2 blocks over," and so they went under contract at 500, but she gave $15,000 in concessions. So that's a pretty important piece of information that I shared with my seller. Because I'm like, look, so this is a great example of a home that's fairly similar to yours, square footage wise, bedrooms, bath, condition. They did just go under contract. So it might have been even buyers that maybe looked at your house and then went and looked at this house and chose this house. And probably the reason why was that she gave $15,000 in concessions. So what if we give some concessions or do a buy down, do a rate
Or
buy?
or just work that into your
Yeah,
expectation of what the
right.
value actually was.
Exactly. Knowing that information can be, again, pretty powerful. Just being like, okay, what, because that's a real market stat, not just contract. And that, so that's really good information to know. And she even said that too. She's like, yeah, I had it on the market for about 60 days. Really didn't get a lot of activity. This was my third price drop. And now we were able to get it under contract by giving those concessions.
Huh.
So
Okay. Well, I
and
got
trust me, I
talking.
get it. I mean, we're all in the same boat. Those aren't easy conversations to have. It's not, and I always tell my seller too, I'm like, look, I mean, you make more money, I make more money. We're both on the same team. It is not that I am trying to, you know, somehow deal you out. I want your success just as much as you want your success, but I also have to deal with reality. And I'm probably a little bit better equipped to deal with that because it's not my home. And I don't have that emotional involvement there
Right.
and all of that going on. So that's what I'm here for, is to try and help us as a team deal with reality and come up with the best scenario situation for you.
Also do a little research on like Airbnb and Vrbo and just see what the booking looks like, because I know everybody's trying to, a lot of people are holding the bag. They wanted to get into short-term rentals when the market was booming, and now everyone's trying to get rid of Airbnbs. But because you're on a golf course, I would think golfing a hobby is pretty insulated from economic instability that impacts like the lower and lower middle classes. I looked up a few properties near the street address for your property just now, and it looks like they're booked out for half of July. And then there's random months where it's like all of October is booked, all of August is booked. So I would try to call those other agents, because maybe these properties that are selling are going to people that are looking at it as an investment property. And that's a bit of a different approach and a different thing to be aware of. And it could be an option for your seller if they want to get into that sort of thing, where they don't need to sell the home right now, but they could still move and supplement their income by doing an Airbnb. And then when they're ready, they say, Mike, we're ready to sell. So I would just do a little bit of poking around with that too.
Yeah, and my 2 cents is I think I heard you mention something about using comps from 6 months ago or for the last 6 months. I think
Yes.
in today's times, you think when you look at charts, values are just flat or they're kind of doing this or whatever, but we're doing one of these. So there's slope. And the speed and the slope of the down, that's that catching of knife analogy. We don't know where it's going to go. So I've always thought of appraisers as somewhat not flawed, but appraisers are just a weird deal to me because they do only look back and their math does not allow, nor do the rules allow them to look or think forward. But flippers, we look back, figure out what happened, and then we have to, with our crystal ball, look forward because we're flipping into the future. So it's like we have to know where that thing is going. And we're not like, magical. It's just that's the game. Like if you don't know what's going to happen in the future, you're not a good flipper. So what I would say is in the future, you got to think of what's going to happen in the future, meaning next 30 days. I look at pendings all the time. I study pendings and pending deltas and pending spreads. I think pendings are really important. Get rid of your January, February, March stuff. That's definitely not part of the party anymore.
Yeah. So, Greg, I know this is going to lose everybody else, but do you subscribe to the Cromford Report?
That's funny. I don't anymore, but I think the report, like Mike Orr, I know personally, I've been to his house. He used to be on my board.
Wow.
My first startup that I spent 60 grand on and didn't get a single customer after 3 years.
Oh, geez.
But yeah, the Crow Report is awesome. And Tina Tambor is fantastic. And Mike Orr is a super math genius and real estate genius. And so I pay attention to, I'm on all of Tina's stuff. I find the way that they've broken down real estate and data and the Tableau to be the gold standard. Like, I don't know anybody that's got anything as good as what they've built in the whole United States. Maybe Case Schiller, but he's like, Mr. Schiller, whatever his name is. He's like a big national guy. Mike Orr is kicking it with his mom as a retired mathematician in Norway with llamas and goats and stuff. But yeah, the Kronf Report is really good for you. And people that are not in Phoenix, what he's talking about, it's just a genius guy out of ASU, built this whole data thing. It's super amazing if you're in the real estate game or flipper. And so I can help you with that, Michael, if you need some help on how to interpret some of that stuff.
Okay, well, I have subscribed in the past, not subscribed now. It'd be nice to get a couple charts to be able to put in front of my seller just to say, hey, here's what the projections are. Here's what we're doing. So, what do you want to do? How do you want to handle your property?
Yeah.
So, okay, good. So, guys, I thank you. You've given me a lot to think about and a lot of direction to take, and I really appreciate it. And Greg, I'll get you more information on the property, and then you can run some of those magic reports and send them to me.
Okay. And I'll leave you with this. I did some thinking over the weekend, and this is kind of for everybody. I don't know if this, and I don't have all this thought through, so I might have some of this, inaccurate. But I'm always thinking about what are the points of resistance? Where is the resistance point? And there's many. To get a deal to happen, 1,000 things have to fall in line, right, for the deal to go. One of the things I think, this buyer premium, I'm still fascinated with. I find it just so, if you're creative, I think you can just really do a lot of magic with it. So one of the things I thought was maybe like 10% buyer premium kind of, pre-built plans. And the plan is to address a particular problem, like a resistance point. So for example, plan A, which is comprised of 10 points, 10%, it'd be 1 point easy, 3 for the buyer agent, 3 for the listing agent, and 3 for REI profit protection, which is like what ABZ is doing. That's the problem he's solving for, ROI. That's what Adam wants is ROI. So that's what that does. B, 1% easy, 3% buyer's agent, 3% listing agent, and 3% goes to the buyer for a 2-1 buy down. And I think that's the best one of all because affordability is the tough thing right now. That's the kicker. Houses are 2x more expensive and what is it, notional value? Like a 200K house is now 400K. But then the underlying paper, 3.5% to 7%. That's a 2x. So affordability, and that just happened in the last 3-5 years. So it's a 2x on a 2x for the house. It's just not easy. So I think affordability is rough. If we can figure out, and I talked with my mortgage guy downstairs that I live next to, he owns his own mortgage company. I said, how do 2-1 buy downs work? He's like, I don't do them, blah, blah, blah. I said, but what do they cost? And he's like, a couple points, 1, 2, 3, everybody has their own way of doing a 2-1 buy down. So I was like, okay, that could be something. I asked ChatGPT, a $500,000 note at 7%, and I think a $500,000 note at 5% is $642 a month less. To me, $700 a month is a meaningful number. That pays a whole person's like new car payment or whatever. That helps the credit card thing go down. You know, you $700 more of the stupid vice that you've got. Like that's just, I think, kind of a big deal. So to me, I think option B is an interesting thing because affordability really is such a ubiquitous problem. And option C, and you could get as creative, you could make as many of these as you want. It's kind of just 10% in storytelling. That's all this really is, and figuring out points of resistance and then attaching the story to it. C is 1% easy. Now we got a bigger problem. We need 4 points. So 1% easy, 2.5 BA, 2.5% listing agent, and 4% for just whatever. We just got to throw cash at something. Maybe we need 10K for this thing, 10K for that thing, because we've got 2 points resistance. That cannot be delivered by anybody but us. And what I just went through in the last 2-3 minutes is not a very easy message to get out, like in the remarks. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's a lot of value there, but what do you do with it? How do you get it in the minds of a listing agent that's not going to, a buyer's agent that's not going to read, and a buyer that's not going to pay attention and doesn't get it, doesn't understand stuff?
I think the only way that would work in a very short message is seller willing to be creative.
Yeah, I agree. Creative is just kind of vague. But I see what you're saying. Like, yeah. A is really for like the investor. That doesn't really go in MLS. ABZ just gets points. So that kind of doesn't matter. But B and C, and you could build a lot of these and come up with all kinds, like your paint and carpet thing.
Yep.
You know, you could take care of a paint problem with a couple grand to a painter.
Yeah.
And what was that app that Robert was using? I keep forgetting the name of it. I don't know why. Reventure. I don't know if that's something that you've looked at either.
Just so you know, I'm a little familiar with that guy. Tina Tambor calls him, and so do others, a doom bro. And a crash bro. I think it's a crash bro, not a doom bro. Pat, do you know what I'm talking about?
They just think it's all doom and gloom. The market's gonna stump down.
Yeah, and he's been saying that crap for 5 years. Like even through the 2021 and 2022, setting all-time highs and stuff going, you know, above list for $50,000 to 10 buyers. And he was like, yeah, super crash. It's the worst ever. So you just got to be aware of that.
I think we are. I think we're just in kind of a weird holding pattern right now in that, you know, no one's really, really super sure what economically is going to occur in the next few months, which could be a big game changer. We could get a new Fed chairman and we could get interest rates down, and that could spur a lot of things. But again, it's not reality today, so we have to have the real conversation today. It's not easy, but our job isn't always easy.
That's why we get paid.
Yep. And we also get paid to be that voice of reason sometimes, you know what I mean? Like, yeah, sure. It was a super easy being an agent back in 2020 as a seller's agent. I just throw something online and I have 30 offers, and all I had to do was a spreadsheet to get highest and best, right? But
Well, I'll let you know how the conversation goes on Thursday, and
yeah, I would just do a lot more
tomorrow.
homework and get good, have research to back it up. Every week I send my seller an update. Hey, this is a weekly update. This is what's going on. And a lot of times I'm the bearer of bad news. I get it. But again, that's the reality of the situation.
Because I know that the platform and the site are working because, again, just like Robert had mentioned last week, the Zillow hits for the property are like 10 times everything else around there.
Yeah.
10 times the saves, 10 times the views. So I know people are looking at it.
Yeah.
So.
Well,
yeah,
I mean,
I think it's time.
Yeah. It is. But that's what they've hired you to do. Again, they were for sale by owning their house because they either didn't have access to the MLS, they don't have access to be able to, or time or money or whatever it is to navigate that whole process. That is our job, is to expose the property to maximum effort. And I don't think there's anything that does that better than the platform.
Do you guys feel like in any market, in any situation, at any price range, that the platform is like probably the best solution to try to get a home sold? And is there anything negative that you guys see?
Well, Robert has put through like hundreds of and all different property types, land lots, a little bit of commercial, mixed use have gone on the platform and sold. The philosophy there is always, if it's priced right, someone's going to want to make the offer. And then the platform comes into play because you're able to save the seller on the front end with the option of not having to pay the listing commission. That's your way of breaking the ice and getting them to be flexible on their ask price when normally they wouldn't be. So if you follow those things, it'll work because it just becomes a matter of supply and demand. Now, do adjustments need to be made based on yesterday's supply and demand versus today's supply and demand? Of course.
And that's
But I
why we're
still,
talking about this extension of maybe it's 2 weeks or 3 weeks in a market like this that it takes for a home to sell through the platform versus 4 days in a fast
yeah, and
market.
I really think the language is half the time, right? So if you're in a market where it's taking 100 days, 2 weeks probably isn't going to be enough unless you're willing to play ball with the price. So the question's always, multiple variables, right? The price, how soon do you want it to sell? And if you want to sell sooner rather than later, you've got to price even more attractively. Because the bottom of the line is, when it's not a hot market, when buyers don't feel like they have to run out every single second and look at a house as soon as it's on the market, they might not even notice your property in the first week because they're not looking weekly anymore. So it's a huge shift in consumer behavior. And also you've got to have your sellers understand that, right? Because if your seller watches the news over the last few years, they've shown imagery of people showing up to open houses and talking about how hot the housing market is. They envision that people will be running to their house the same way for their house today in 2025. So if you're not like knocking them on the head and saying, look, in this market, people are more patient. They're moving slower because there isn't this competition. It's taking 50 days versus 14. And if you need to sell sooner, the great thing about the Easy platform is instead of going for a cheap lowball cash offer from an iBuyer or a cash offer in the market, you can actually throw on and get some visibility and get some exposure on the MLS and still sell quickly. If you have some time to wait, we don't need to do such a steep price drop to give people some time to come in and realize your house is on the market and check it out and start, feeling out whether or not they want to make an offer. So it's really always, how quickly do you want to sell? What would be the price for us to get the buyer bucket pool in there soon enough for us to get offers to sell? And when you add time in there as a factor, you can obviously start to attract more buyers that wouldn't notice week 1 or week 2.
How do you feel, Kat, about extension if you have one offer on the table that is not high enough for the seller to accept? So you've been on the market for 1 week on the platform, you have one offer in, the offer is maybe $40,000 below what the seller wants to take. We can extend based on that. What's the conversation like with that one buyer and that one buyer's agent? Like, why don't you just take our offer? Why'd you extend it?
You mean if they call you? So, well, I would say first, hopefully you've already spoken to them because you've received the offer. So you've spoken to them and said, are you willing to come up? Well, my seller would like this. Are you interested in doing that? If they say no, then you're kind of in a limbo there. If they call you and say, why didn't you take the offer? Remember, our seller can accept or reject any offer at any time. And we're still willing to negotiate. Have you given some thought to what we said, or have you thought of other ideas where we can make this deal work? So
Okay.
I would say that call, if they call you again, it just goes right back into negotiation mode.
Okay. And which I'm comfortable with, right? So I feel like the platform is a way for us to have these conversations and feel comfortable having these conversations. Before, when you used to list something 20% below and have it on the MLS and you didn't have a platform to lean on, like people were really pissed if you didn't take their offer that was like at full price or whatever. But I think this is a good way to just kind of lean back and be like, listen, the house is already, $40,000 below, what fair market value is or what it'll appraise at, where you're at, we need to come up to X or whatever the case may be. But yeah, I think it's good leverage to negotiate a higher price, I guess.
So you should know at that point too, if it's a financing limitation, versus if it's just someone that's what they're willing to offer at this point in time. And those are two different scenarios, right? If it's kind of close, then you could get creative with trying to find a way that it would work if you want to keep that buyer in the running or get them to come up a little bit more and see. But if it's a financing limit, then you kind of know where it's gonna stop.
Right.
It's not gonna work. But if it's not a financing limit and they're just coming in low, they're playing the, well, whatever it is, I'm gonna offer 20% less. You know, some people will start that way. Then let it wait. Let more people have their time to come see the house, do more showings, do an open house a different way, maybe on a Saturday versus Sunday. Because I think the contract you went under, a new buyer came into the mix, right? Your event ended and then you had a buyer that wasn't even part of the initial event offer that was like,
Yeah.
whatever. And you're like, well, we already have this. And that's how, can you do your numbers again?
Yeah, I feel bad because last week I didn't talk or I wasn't able to talk. You guys were covering a lot of stuff, but I think it's a great case study if it
Oh,
closed.
give us the 411. I mean, it was,
Here's the
again, if you,
411. So to backtrack, like I'm one of 72 people that have tried a traditional listing and then brought it onto the platform a month later, and it's a success so far. And here's why, which is really weird, but my first offer that came in didn't want to be on the platform. They wrote a traditional full offer. And so we wrote a counter and we started this process countering back and forth. So when this was going on, our first week of the platform event ending, I extended another week, right, till the following Wednesday. So then we had more traffic come in and that sort of thing. I'm going back and forth with a counter offer, and there's no offers on the table on the platform. And then a buyer comes in, loves the house, writes an offer at the 575, which is where we listed it at. And mind you, my original list price was 739. So I went all the way down to 575. I have it on the platform. I had a decent turnout, not 50 or 100 buyers, but probably 20 to 25 people come for the first mega open house. This second buyer comes in 5 days later while we're in the middle of countering this other deal. And they just almost came in and saved the day for the seller because the seller was looking at doing the deal with his first buyer that wanted to have the solar completely paid off and then a portion of it. So he was looking at accepting a deal for 650 and having to pay 30K off of the solar. So when this next buyer came in, I could leverage the 650 price and say, well, we're at 650 right now. And they're like, okay, well, just counter us. We'll do whatever you say. So I countered their 575 at 650, assuming the solar, and they took it. I said, you got to respond by 8 because I've got another counter to this other buyer, and they just took it. And they were an owner occupant moving in. They were out of state looking for the weekend to buy their home that they have to live in to move for their job kind of thing. So there was some motivation there. And the only reason it worked is because I had somebody else at play that created that urgency. So I feel like the platform can do that, even if there's no offers on the platform. And it's okay that I haven't responded to everybody in a timely manner because our platform says that that's okay. It says that we have 2 weeks to kind of look at all these offers that come in and negotiate whichever one. So I'm just trying to figure out all the dynamics of the platform, how to use it in my pitch and my sales process so that I can kind of perfect what I'm trying to achieve. And then I have to think forward in the future because we're putting time and effort into learning these things. So it's like when the market shifts and it is a seller's market again, how am I going to use a platform to my benefit? Like if I put time and energy in this, I want to make sure that I'm moving along with it so that I can use it as a viable tool to sell.
And I think your example is just such a great thing for you to tell sellers, like, hey, here's stats from Redfin saying that record number of sellers are making concessions to make the transactions work. And here you are, like, well, look at that. We switched from someone that chased us down and wanted our seller paying for all of this stuff to getting them someone else here and paying all the commission. And
Yeah.
it's one sentence of a case study that nobody else can go out there and pitch. And that's really, you did a great job doing that negotiating work back and forth. And I hope everyone on the call heard that his buyer was looking that weekend. They have a motivation. They needed to move out of nowhere. But if he had sold a week earlier, that buyer wasn't looking a week ago. So there's another advantage. I don't know what your average days on market are, Michael.
Probably 90-ish now. maybe
So
7.
there you go. You're still with this listing, you're way under that 45 halfway mark.
The other thing that I didn't throw in there last week when we were having our discussion was I did subsequent open houses and they were awesome because I brought in new buyers that I'm able to represent. And so my plan is when I put it on the platform, I'm going to have the mega open house the first weekend to drive, local sellers and all that kind of stuff and get everybody in there. But then I might as well just go and work the property in the afternoon and just work from there and have the house open. Make sure to put it on the MLS because the MLS syndicates with Zillow. And now all these little savvy buyers just run around with their iPad with all of the open houses that are happening on Zillow. That's how they go look at property because they don't have to commit to an agent that way. So they're just kind of like, oh, what's open right now? I feel like driving around and looking at houses. And I found a handful of people like that, which is a very good, viable cash buyer like that, that doesn't want to commit to anybody. He just wants to go to open houses, that are being built.
What a value add too. Like, how great does that sound if an agent's able to tell their seller, I'll be there all day for anyone that wants to come see it. When you hear all these horror stories of real estate agents that I don't know, my agent's not answering their phone, they didn't communicate with me enough, versus someone like Michael who's like, I'll park here with internet and get the job done and I'll be here. But you're obviously leveraging it. You're doing other work too.
I have toddlers at home, so it's great to go to an open house and sit there at a vacant house without kids crying.
But all of those buyers that came to that house were probably not gonna come to a house that you had on the MLS at that other price, right?
And that's another thing. I think the price too is going to make a huge difference, right? You're going to get people there because the price is so attractive. And so those are the types of opportunities that you can turn into new buyers for yourself. So it's just, yeah, I think there's multiple ways of being able to leverage the platform. And again, like I had 0 offers on the actual platform, which is really weird. But it was my excuse of like, hey, we're using a third party bidding platform. Oh, and I didn't even tell you guys I got fined.
Yeah.
Oh, your MLS story, right? And she was
Yeah.
like, she
So
told
we
you,
get
well,
a
there's auction companies that put the dollar.
Yeah, so like I got fined $700 for having it on the platform late in the first week. So I had to call, they removed the fine, but they're like, hey, you can't have the addendum uploaded in your documents tab because it shows commissions. Say specifically what bidding platform you're using. You can say you're using a third-party bidding platform. You can't use the name. So you can't give the buyer a way to kind of contact the listing agent separately and go around anybody. So that was a learning lesson too.
Hmm.
Something interesting that kind of just clicked, and I'm I pay attention to like ratios when I can, and sometimes they get you into trouble. But I remember hearing Robert say one time, well, the goal is to get 100 people in the house. The goal is to get 100 in the house. That hopefully turns into 10 people that are competing. You guys are shaking your head. You heard this.
Yep, that comes from NAR. So NAR stats are,
10%.
10-ish buyers to get one offer.
Okay. Well, I think Robert was talking 100 in the house to get 10 competitive bidders. That'll create a bid war for sure. That was like the goal. But what happened with you, Michael, is you got 20 something people in the house and you got 2 competitive bidders. That's the same ratio.
10%, man.
That's
I
still
use this 10% number for a lot of stuff in real estate. Like I remember training with the Mike Ferry organization, which is a big sales company. I don't know if you guys have heard of them, but they're always working off that 10% ratio. They're like, if you have 100 people in your CRM that are your clients, you should be getting 10%, 10 deals a year from those 100 clients as referrals. You should be doing 10 deals a year from those 100 people. So this 10% thing is kind of, I hear it a lot.
Even if it's placebo in a way, it's still some type of accountability, right? Like if I make 100 calls today, I should have 10 conversations. It's all just my goal really is to have 10 conversations. And at the very least, I can't stop until I try 100 times.
Right.
So I think it's a great way to anchor for accountability.
Yeah. It changes when you're making calls in the marketplace as far as cold calls go. Like when we would call a geographic farm, right? It's a 50 to 1 to find a seller, right? So you have to contact 50 people to find one seller. But when you're calling for sale by owners or expires, you're going to call 10 to find one that you can do a deal with, right? Because they're already
You have more information there.
Yeah, they want to sell.
Well, speaking about expireds and for sale by owners, has anyone actually started doing that 30-day list challenge? Because that's something I'm really interested in doing. Has anyone got any good responses from, the 3 touches with the bags, with the marketing guide, the seller's guide, the CMAs?
I'd like to. Thank you. I'll take that as a challenge.
Yeah, who else wants to join the challenge?
We can keep each other accountable because you got to do 5 drops a day. If anyone wants some accountability, I'm all on board.
What's the challenge again?
The
So
30
the
day
30
listing, 30-day listing challenge.
So
Okay.
it's a real estate pop buys. So you want to have stuff put together ahead of time. They don't have to be expensive. They can be lower budget, but things that you can you knock and you could try to start a conversation, but if they're not there, you can still leave it as a sort of door hanger goodie bag. The theme could change, but obviously the idea would be something helpful, something memorable. A lot of realtors like to use the recipe magnets because people will keep it for the recipe and their face is there on their fridge the whole time. Things like for spring, people will do the little plant planters that they get for like $2. You can get a little seed packet and a clay pot and do the bags. 4th of July is speeding by, but so many different things for summer that you could come up with as themes. And it's really just kind of like playing on the idea of reciprocity. So it's door knocking with something that's a bit more memorable. It takes it to the next level. I'll drop the link. I think when we did that, it was a Topic Thursday workshop, I believe. But we had also uploaded it as a mini course. So I'll drop the link in the chat. And if you missed it, you could replay. Because Robert goes through the different ideas and his insights because he used to do it with his entire Washington team. So when you hear him talking about their results, it's all the agents he used to manage. Do you guys have any ideas for what you do door hangers this time of year? What you put in the goodie bags?
I mean, I can come up with something. I have a couple of different other prospecting ideas too, so I can try and put something together and get it out.
I was going to keep it low budget and just keep the CMA, but the idea of putting something else that's helpful, something with summer, that's something I got to think about.
I was doing drops for my open houses for the neighbors and doing the invites. And I actually stapled a rubber band to the corner of the flyer so I could put it on the doorknob. And that was amazingly cheap.
Mm-hmm.
So
Smart.
if that helps.
I've done flyers where I just put them in the flag of the mailbox. Because you can't put it inside, but you can put it on the outside.
Yeah, very close to a federal crime there. You gotta.
Yep. No, you can. You can put it on the outside. You just
On
cannot
the
open the
outside.
mail. Yeah, or if they have an open, like for newspapers or something, you can put it there, but you cannot physically open the mailbox for sure.
Good to know. Seems like common sense now that I think about it, but never thought about that before.
That
So
is-
this is
That's
why
a
these are
federal
great
crime.
calls.
I would be brave enough to totally open somebody's mailbox and put stuff in there.
Some counties have restrictions on soliciting.
Always check our HOAs, right? So if, skip the neighborhoods that have the crazy HOAs, always best practices, do your due diligence. But Mike, great idea. I mean, a 2-for-1 to try to do like combine promotions for an open house with the neighbors with maybe including something that would be a memorable pop-by idea. And I always default to magnets because I feel like if you make it a recipe, it can work for any season unless the recipe's seasonal. So that's just one thing to always have and be able to quickly drop in a goodie bag.
Well, for summer, you could do simple things like you could even get those little, like the little wipes for off, or the little wristbands you wear, and I don't know, something else. Oh, we can't hear you.
Sorry. So in the chat, you guys, I dropped the 30-day listing challenge. The reason it's a course is, even though it's just a replay of a workshop, is if you enroll in the course, it'll live on your dashboard. And that means you can revisit it anytime without having to go find the old YouTube link somewhere 10 months previously. So there's that there in the chat if you haven't already enrolled in it. And then other than that, don't forget, there's always the Facebook group. Always the Facebook group. Any other questions? Any other wins?
So I was wondering, because I'm reaching out to for sale by owners, what is a great way to text them? Because nobody's answering the phone these days, or email to get them to respond, because what I'm saying is not getting any results.
What are you doing?
Well, I'm basically telling them about the platform that they don't have to pay any commission and stuff like that. I've tried to change up the way I express it. Let me see if I can find. Don't wait for me to try to locate the text.
What's in it for them? If people don't care what you have to offer, what's good for you, but what's going to make a difference for me? Why should I come to you?
Shondell, are you mentioning the platform in your messaging?
Let's see. Hold on. Let me try to find it.
Because just as general advice, people are scared of hearing they have to learn how to use the new scary thing, and depending on
say
the
anything like that. I say, hello, I have a tool that can assist you in selling this property quickly and effectively without paying a commission and maximizing your return. The buyer pays the premium. Please contact me if you want to know more and need assistance, and then all that.
So I would say that there's probably it's someone that's trying to sell me something. This person's going to try to sell me this tool. So they're not going to instantly think, especially if they're only reading the notification text and not opening the message, they might not even see the 0% commission option if they're not giving you the time of the day to open the full text message. So, and then if you're saying tool, they might assume I'm either going to be sold on something or I have to learn how to do something on my own.
Okay.
Whereas,
so what should I put in here?
I'm offering an exclusive option for 0% listing commission. Do you want to learn more?
Offering a 0% commission option.
Even if you think you could fit more words, I'm offering a few sellers here a 0% listing commission option. Are you interested?
Yep. Or you can even say something similar. Like there's two things that I use. One, I say, I'm an agent, a local agent in the area that's looking for homes that would fit the criteria for me to list them at 0% commission while giving the seller, and I list a whole, I would get like professional photography, professional cleaning, professional staging, like all of these services. Just reach out to me. We can find out whether your home meets that criteria.
Yeah, and that heuristic there is exclusivity. It's scarcity. So it gives people a reason to respond to at least find out more before the option's gone and somebody else takes it. So there's this implication that get it before it's gone. Other people are going to take this. It's a little bit of touching on social proof. And it's also dealing with the expected objections of, is this too good to be true? Well, no, I only offer it a limited time. So
right.
that combats that. And then am I getting cheap services? Is this going to be like a rinky dink company that just wants to do something sketchy? No, she's offering full service. So you're covering those objections preemptively through what Joy's saying.
I also do another one, and this is just something I do. I offer a free edited video. I subscribe to a number of different tools where I can take just pictures and other video that I shoot with my iPhone and make it into a very nice video and it's very simple. I use CapCut and different things to do it. Super simple. But I offer that too. I'll be like, hey, do you want a free professional video?
Those are really good answers. I took some notes down. Another thing I wanted to talk to Robert about, what about these open houses? Do we absolutely have to have an open house to generate a sell off the platform?
I would say yes. My
Yes.
answer would be because that's the optimal time. The open house is what gets people into the property and allows you to talk with them. It just allows for so many positive aspects that I don't know why you wouldn't do it. You get buyers from it. You get new listing appointments from it, new buyers from it. You're actually having conversations with sellers to explain the platform to them. You can get them pre-approved. You can get feedback on the property directly right then and there. And it gives you a good reason to market all that you're selling in the neighborhood and then some.
Having a bunch of people in the house at the same time, they also can understand that there's an urgency behind placing an offer. It's just psychology. Robert talks about science, and that's a big part of it.
I think we're entering this age where people don't like to have conversations. So it can be intimidating for certain personality types to call an agent, or if they're unrepresented, call the listing agent and say, we want to come do the showing. And now we have to go stand there and it's just us and the agent. or the FSBO. So an open house gives buyers the opportunity to be in a crowd and not have to be bothered. Again, I always go back to the retail stores at the mall. You walk in and you get bombarded by 10 employees. Do you need any help? Can I help you find anything? And that irritates certain people. So an open house is a way to, you know, people that are more introverted to still want to come out without getting too caught up in their own anxiety. So with that
And
being
there's
said,
so
though,
many
Shonda,
buyers that don't want to do a buyer's agreement, so that's what they're doing, is going to open houses.
And that's
if
how you
there's-
can have the opportunity to double-sided if you have the open house, because you can meet the buyers.
And Shondell, is it, if it's a constraint with like staffing, resourcing, is it, you know, the bandwidth of who's going to actually sit the open house? Because that's where you'd reach out to, you know, another agent and offer them, hey, you can take the leads. I need someone to work this open house. Can you do it? So
It's not an issue yet because I don't have a listing, but I was looking at other opportunities outside of my area, which is 2 to 3, 4 hours away, and we don't have any agents in that area yet that are.
I wouldn't even, because the alternative to open houses would be showing, so that would still end up being a constraint unless it's something that, you know, someone wants to buy unseen, which you'd be marketing that type of property to probably an investor buyer, which
That's
doesn't
another
seem
thing.
like what you're marketing. But what I would do, just try your new messaging. You won't know the results until you test it around.
And then I was
Um,
thinking, what if I get a lot of listings? And then,
referrals, then refer them out.
Yep.
yeah.
If you don't have the bandwidth, just refer it out. Simple as that. And remember, you know, bring them to Easy Platform. Will help you get them enrolled. They can still follow the USP that you pitched to the seller already. And honestly, I think it sets you up for better success for them to close on the back end, which means you're more likely to get your referral.
So what do you mean by referral? Like
Fee?
the referral fee for bringing a new agent on? Or
We have the enterprise program, but even if you don't want to buy seats up front, it's just a quicker way for you to get whatever your referral rate would be. If you do the 25 to 35 for giving your listing lead to a different agent, you're setting yourself up to get that shorter cash flow cycle to get your referral payment, because we're helping listings close in half the time. See, this is your homework, Shondell. We got to adjust your messaging, and you won't know if adjusting it works until you try it. Same thing, if you're calling and saying the same thing that you were putting in that text, switch up your calling. Also, don't forget, if you're on social media, if you have a LinkedIn, do some digital door knocking, right? You don't need to drive somewhere if you don't want to use your car right now. But if you don't have the platform, I suggest getting your profile set up and start networking with who you know. But there's nothing wrong with going to a sphere of influence or your friends or family and just the same value pitch, but do you know anybody, right? It's not just I'm trying to sell the person I'm messaging. It's, hey, you know, I'm looking for people that are trying to sell their home and maybe having some difficulty doing so in this market. I can help by, you know, as prices are falling, we have an option with the 0% listing. And right away, that's giving people the balance of how they can balance out their numbers and their expectations. Do you know anyone that's in need trying to sell right now? So don't forget to message people you actually know, reach out to people you actually know. So I think you've got a few homework tasks there, Shondell. You're gonna, I know it's a holiday weekend, but we don't have a Thursday call. I think our next meeting, you guys, is Wednesday. You're doing training 2 Wednesdays from now, right, Joy?
Not this
And
Wednesday.
then the Thursday. So no Wednesday, no Thursday, no Monday. And then Wednesday master training session for anyone that needs to attend that. And then Thursday we'll be back. Shondell, you can do some homework by Thursday, next Thursday.
And post it on the Facebook page.
Yeah.
Totally do the homework. I'm doing it every day. It doesn't even look like it though. I'm working on.
That's okay. Change it up because act like it's a blank slate with you changing your messaging. So that's what I mean by homework. We're starting with this project with the ideas and the messaging from today. And basically you're going to do the outbound work, see what you can do, and you're going to report back, give us an update on Thursday.
Next Thursday?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, you guys. Well, thank you for all the questions today. Good luck on everybody that's like still pounding the pavement and keeping it moving and being a good guide to sellers while sellers are unsure of what's going on. I hope everyone enjoys their holiday break, but still do your homework. Always be selling. And see you guys Wednesday for Joy's training, if you're going to do that 2 Wednesdays from now, or 2 Thursdays with our topic Thursdays. Take care, everybody.
Have a good 4th, everyone.